Tejo wiped the sweat from his forehead as he shoveled another pile of waste from the stable floor. The morning sun was already hot on the planet Cheonsa 7, and he had 12 more stalls to clean before noon. His hands were rough and covered in calluses. At 19 years old, this was the only life he had ever known. The Velkin embassy compound stretched across the valley like a small city. The aliens who lived there were tall and proud, with gray skin and eyes like black glass. They ruled over dozens of star systems, and everyone feared them. Tejo was just a human stable boy who took care of their war beasts. Nobody important ever looked at him twice. The war beasts were massive creatures with thick scales and sharp teeth. They looked like the dragons from old Earth stories, but smaller and mean. The Velkins used them in ceremonies to show their power. Tejo fed them, cleaned their sleeping areas, and made sure they stayed healthy. It was dangerous work. Last year, a beast had bitten off another worker's arm, but Tejo was different with the animals. He never shouted at them or hit them with sticks like the other workers did. He spoke softly and moved slowly. He learned to read their moods by watching their eyes and the way they held their heads. The beast seemed calmer when he was near. Today was special. The Velkin ambassador was hosting diplomats from 3 other alien species. There would be a ceremony in the main courtyard. Tejo had spent 2 days making sure the war beasts looked perfect. Their scales had been polished until they shined. Their claws had been trimmed. Everything had to be perfect or Tejo would be punished. He led the first beast, a large male named Striker, toward the courtyard. The creature walked beside him without pulling on the chain. Tejo could feel the animal was nervous. Too many people, too much noise. He placed his hand on Striker's neck and whispered, "Easy, friend. Just walk with me." The courtyard was full of aliens in colorful robes. Human servants rushed around carrying trays of strange food. Velkin guards stood at attention with their weapons ready. Tejo guided Striker to his position and locked the chain to a metal post. He did the same with the other 5 beasts. Then he was supposed to leave and return to the stables. But something felt wrong. Striker was breathing too fast. His eyes were wild. The other beasts were getting nervous too. Tejo looked around for a Velkin handler, but they were all busy with the ceremony. He stayed in the shadows near the wall watching. The ambassador began his speech. His voice was loud and harsh. The war beasts shifted on their feet. Tejo's heart started beating faster. He knew the signs. Something bad was about to happen. Striker roared. The sound was so loud that people covered their ears. The beast reared up on his back legs and broke the chain like it was made of paper. Aliens screamed and ran in every direction. Velkin guards raised their weapons, but they were too slow. Striker charged toward the ambassador with his jaws open wide. Tejo didn't think. He just ran. He threw himself between the beast and the ambassador. Striker's hot breath washed over him. Those massive jaws could bite him in half. But Tejo didn't run away. He raised his hands and pressed them against the beast's snout. His fingers moved in patterns he didn't understand, making shapes in the air. "Brother," Tejo whispered. The word came from somewhere deep inside him. "Peace, brother. I see you. I hear you." Striker's eyes met his. For a moment, the whole world was silent. Then the beast lowered his head and made a soft rumbling sound in his chest. He was calm. Tejo kept his hands on the creature's scales, still making those strange patterns in the air. The Velkin guards surrounded them with weapons pointed. The ambassador was shouting orders, but Tejo only focused on Striker. Slowly, carefully, he led the beast back to his post. The other war beasts had calmed down too. They watched Tejo with their heads tilted, like they were seeing him for the first time. A young woman pushed through the crowd. She had black hair tied back and wore the simple clothes of a scientist. Her name tag said Dr. Hannah Park, Xenobiology. She stared at Tejo with wide eyes. "How did you do that?" she asked. Tejo shrugged. "I don't know. I just understood what he needed." "Those hand movements," Hannah said. "I've seen them before. Can you come with me, please? This is important." Tejo looked at the Velkin guards. They were still watching him with suspicion. The ambassador was talking to his advisors, probably deciding what to do with the stable boy who had interrupted the ceremony. Tejo knew he would be in trouble either way. "Okay," he said. Hannah led him away from the compound to her small research vehicle. They drove for 20 minutes into the mountains. She didn't speak much, but Tejo could tell she was excited about something. Finally, they stopped at the entrance to a cave. "I found this 3 months ago," Hannah explained as she turned on a light. "The local humans told me nobody comes here. They say it's haunted. The cave went deep into the mountain. The walls were smooth like they had been carved by tools. But as they walked further, Taiho saw something that made him stop. The walls were covered in symbols. They glowed faintly in the darkness. What are these? Taiho asked. I don't know, Hana admitted. They're not in any language database. But watch this. She held up her tablet and showed him a video. It was Taiho calming Striker slowed down. His hands moved in patterns. The same patterns that were on the cave walls. Taiho reached out and touched one of the symbols. It was warm under his fingers. The glow got brighter. Other symbols started lighting up too, one after another, like a chain reaction. A deep humming sound filled the cave. What's happening? Hana backed away, her voice shaking. The entire mountain began to shake. Dust fell from the ceiling. The symbols blazed with light so bright that Taiho had to close his eyes. He felt something vast and ancient waking up far below them. It was aware. It was alive. And somehow it knew he was there. A crack appeared in the back wall of the cave. Then another. The stone began to split apart, revealing darkness beyond. Cold air rushed out, carrying a smell like lightning and old stone. In that darkness, something moved. Something enormous. Taiho heard a voice in his mind. It wasn't words exactly, but he understood it perfectly. Finally, the voice said, the shepherd has returned. The wall kept breaking apart. Huge pieces of stone crashed to the ground. Hana grabbed Taiho's arm and tried to pull him back, but he couldn't move. His feet felt rooted to the spot. The light from the symbols was so bright now that it hurt to look at. We need to go, Hana shouted over the noise. The whole cave is collapsing. But Taiho knew it wasn't collapsing. It was opening. Something behind that wall wanted to come out. The humming grew louder, deeper, until he could feel it in his bones. Then the darkness beyond the wall moved, and two huge golden eyes opened. They were each as big as Taiho's whole body. They glowed with inner light and looked at him with an intelligence that made him feel small and young. A head emerged from the darkness. It was covered in black scales that seemed to drink in the light. The creature was a dragon, but not like the war beasts at the embassy. This was what those beasts had been long ago, before something changed them. The dragon pushed through the opening. The cave wasn't big enough for it. Its body kept coming and coming. When it finally stood fully inside, it had to bend its long neck to fit under the ceiling. Its wings were folded against its sides, each one large enough to cover a house. Hana fell to her knees. She was shaking and couldn't speak. Taiho wanted to run, but his body wouldn't obey him. The dragon lowered its massive head until its eyes were level with his. He could see himself reflected in those golden eyes. Just a poor stable boy, thin and dirty, wearing clothes with holes in them. The dragon's voice filled his mind again. You carry the old blood. The blood of shepherds. I don't understand, Taiho said out loud. His voice sounded tiny in the huge cave. You will, the dragon replied. I am called Onyxwing. I have slept for 50,000 of your years waiting. Behind me, 7 others also sleep. We waited for humans to reach the stars. We waited for a shepherd to wake us. Taiho heard running footsteps. He turned to see Federation security officers rushing into the cave. They wore armor and carried big guns. Leading them was a man named Seok, the head of security for the whole colony. His face was hard and angry. Step away from the creature, Seok ordered. Hands up! Both of you. Taiho raised his hands. Hana did too. The security officers spread out around the cave, their weapons pointed at Onyxwing. The dragon didn't move. It just watched them with those calm golden eyes. Sir, one officer said nervously. What is that thing? I don't know, Seok answered. But we're taking it into custody. Someone call for heavy containment units. Onyxwing made a sound. It wasn't quite a laugh, but close. The sound made the floor shake. You cannot contain us, little ones. Your weapons are toys. Your metal boxes are paper. It talks, another officer whispered. Seok's jaw tightened. I don't care what it can do. Fire a warning shot. Show it we mean business. No! Taiho shouted, but it was too late. One officer fired his weapon at the cave ceiling near the dragon. The energy blast hit the stone and exploded. Rock fragments rained down, but Onyxwing didn't even blink. The dragon's eyes started to glow brighter. The air around it shimmered. Every electronic device in the cave died. The officers' weapons stopped working. Their helmet lights went out. Even Hana's tablet screen went black. The only light came from the symbols on the walls and Onyxwing's eyes. You are children playing with tools you barely understand, the dragon said. Its voice in their minds was not angry, just sad. Humans have grown strong in technology but weak in wisdom. This is disappointing. Behind Onyx Wing, the darkness stirred. More eyes were opening. 6 pairs, all different colors. Blue, red, silver, purple, white, and deep green. 6 more dragons were waking up. Siak tried his communicator, but it was dead too. "Fall back," he ordered his team. "Get to a safe distance and report this." As the officers ran from the cave, Taiho heard more vehicles approaching. A lot of them. Within minutes, the area outside was full of soldiers. He could see them setting up large weapons on tripods. Hana grabbed his hand. She was terrified. A new ship landed nearby. It was bigger than the others and had the symbol of the Velkan Empire on its side. A tall Velkan woman stepped out. She wore a general's uniform covered in medals. Her name was Yuna, and Taiho had seen her before. She was famous across many star systems for her victories in war. General Yuna walked to the cave entrance. She didn't look afraid. She studied Onyx Wing with cold interest, like a scientist looking at an interesting insect. "So," she said in perfect human language, "the legends were true. Real dragons do exist, you know of us?" Onyx Wing asked. "My people have stories," Yuna replied. "Stories of great beasts our ancestors found on distant worlds. Beasts we captured and changed and bred to serve us. Your smaller cousins have been useful slaves for thousands of years." Taiho felt anger rise in his chest. The war beasts at the embassy weren't slaves by choice. They had been made that way. Onyx Wing's voice in his mind became colder. "You took our children's children and broke them," the dragon said. "Made them forget what they were. This is a great crime." "This is survival," Yuna corrected. "The strong rule the weak. That is the law of the universe." "No," Onyx Wing said. "That is the law of the cruel." Behind the first dragon, the other 6 were fully awake now. They pushed through the widening crack in the wall. The cave couldn't hold them all. They moved outside and soldiers ran in panic. The dragons stood in a circle, their heads raised to the sky. They were magnificent and terrifying. A red dragon with fierce eyes looked down at the Velkan general. "I am Scarlet Eye. I remember when your species was young. You were not always warriors. You were once gardeners, growing beautiful flowers on a green world. What happened to you?" Yuna's expression didn't change. "We learned that flowers die easily. We became strong so we would not die." A silver dragon spoke next, its voice gentle. "I am Silvertooth. Strength and cruelty are not the same thing. You have confused them." General Yuna pulled out a communicator. This one still worked because it was Velkan technology, more advanced than human devices. "This is General Yuna to all ships. I am declaring an emergency situation. The creatures you see are a threat to galactic peace. The Velkan Empire is claiming them as military assets." "What?" Hana said. "You can't do that." "I can and I am," Yuna replied. She looked at Taiho. "You stable boy. You woke them. You can control them. You will come with us or we will destroy this entire colony. Every human on this planet will die. You have 1 hour to decide." Onyx Wing lowered its head next to Taiho. "Do not fear, Shepherd. We chose your people for a reason long ago. It is time to remember that reason. It is time to show the galaxy what humans truly are." Taiho looked at the massive dragons, at the frightened soldiers, at General Yuna's cold eyes. He was just a stable boy.
He didn't know how to save anyone.
But the dragon's words echoed in his mind. Shepherd, the old blood. Maybe he was supposed to be something more. "I need to understand," Taiho said to Onyx Wing. "Why us? Why humans?" The dragon's golden eyes glowed brighter. "Let me show you." Onyx Wing touched its snout to Taiho's forehead. The world disappeared. Taiho's mind filled with memories that were not his own. He saw Earth as it was 50,000 years ago. He saw humans living in caves, barely surviving. And he saw dragons teaching them, showing them how to plant seeds, how to work together, how to dream of tomorrow. When the vision ended, Taiho understood. Humans weren't special because they were strong. They were special because they learned, because they grew, because they chose kindness even when it was hard. 1 hour, General Yuna repeated. Decide. Taiho sat on a rock outside the cave with his head in his hands. The hour was almost up. Around him, the 7 dragons waited silently. Soldiers and weapons surrounded them in a wide circle. Everyone was waiting for his decision. Hana sat next to him. She had been trying to help him think clearly. "You don't have to do this," she said quietly. "You don't owe anyone anything. You're just a kid who worked in a stable." "That's what I keep telling myself," Taiho replied. But Onyx Wing showed me things. Memories from long ago. Dragons didn't just help humans. They trusted us. They gave up their place as rulers of Earth because they believed we could be better than they were. That's a lot of pressure, Hana said. Taiho looked at her. What would you do? Before she could answer, a new ship arrived. It was a Federation military vessel, much bigger than the others. An older man in an admiral's uniform stepped out. His name was Doyen, and he commanded all Federation forces in this sector of space. He walked straight to Taiho. Son, Admiral Doyen said, I need you to listen carefully. The Velkins are not bluffing. If you don't cooperate, they will attack. We can't stop them. Their fleet is 10 times larger than ours. So I should just let them take the dragons? Taiho asked. I'm saying you should think about all the people who will die if you don't. Doyen's voice was firm but not unkind. Sometimes we have to make hard choices. A woman's voice interrupted them. That's not the only choice. A human woman approached. She wore the badge of a lawyer. Her name was Minji, and she worked for the Galactic Rights Organization. Taiho, you have rights. You can't be forced to do anything. The dragons are sentient beings. They have rights too. Rights don't stop weapons, Admiral Doyen said. Maybe they should, Minji replied. Taiho stood up. His legs were shaking, but he walked toward General Yuna. She watched him approach with those cold eyes. When he was close enough, he spoke. I want to talk to you, Taiho said. Just you and me. No weapons. No threats. Yuna raised one eyebrow. Why would I agree to that? Because you said you wanted the dragons. But you can't have them without me. So talk to me. Give me that much respect. For a long moment, Yuna stared at him. Then she nodded. 5 minutes, come. They walked away from the others to a spot where they could talk privately. Yuna stood straight and tall. Taiho felt small next to her, but he didn't look away. You were a gardener, Taiho said. Your people. The dragons remember. Yuna's expression flickered. Just for a second, something like pain crossed her face. That was long ago. We are not that weak anymore. Growing things isn't weak, Taiho said. It takes patience. It takes hope that something good will come from your work. That's harder than destroying things. You sound like a child, Yuna said. Maybe, Taiho agreed. But I work with animals. I know what happens when you use fear to control them. They never really obey. They're just waiting for a chance to break free. Is that what you want? Dragons that hate you? Yuna was quiet for a moment. What do you want, stable boy? I want to show you something, Taiho said. Let me prove that there's a better way. If I'm wrong, I'll come with you. I'll try to make the dragons cooperate. But if I'm right, you leave this planet in peace. And what will you show me? Yuna asked. Trust, Taiho said simply. Yuna laughed. It was not a happy sound. Trust is a luxury for the powerful. No, Taiho said. Trust is how the weak become powerful. He walked back to the dragons. Onyx Wing lowered its head to him. Taiho placed his hand on the dragon's scales. He could feel the ancient creature's heartbeat, slow and steady. Will you help me? Taiho asked. Always, Shepherd, Onyx Wing replied. Taiho turned to face everyone. Soldiers, diplomats, scientists, and General Yuna. His voice was small, but in the quiet morning air, everyone could hear him. You all think power comes from weapons or size or control, Taiho said, but I'm going to show you something different. Onyx Wing, will you please fly? The dragon spread its massive wings. They were so large they blocked out the sun. With one powerful thrust, Onyx Wing lifted into the air. The wind from its wings knocked people off their feet. The dragon rose higher and higher, a black shape against the blue sky. It was beautiful and terrible. Soldiers pointed their weapons up. They were afraid. Taiho understood. He was a little afraid too. Now watch, Taiho said louder. He looked at the war beasts that the Velkins had brought. They were chained to posts near the military vehicles. Their handlers stood nearby with control rods that gave electric shocks. Taiho walked toward the nearest beast. Its handler moved to stop him, but General Yuna raised a hand. Let him try, she said. This should be interesting. The war beast snarled at Taiho. It was trained to be aggressive. Years of pain and fear had made it mean, but Taiho didn't stop walking. He held out his hand and made those strange patterns in the air, the same patterns from the cave walls, the same patterns that were somehow in his blood. You are not a slave, Taiho said softly to the beast. You are a dragon's child, remember. The beast's eyes changed. The red anger faded. It looked at Taiho with confusion, then wonder. It made a sound, a questioning rumble. Taiho placed his hand on its head. "Be free," he whispered. The beast turned to its handler and roared. The handler stepped back, raising the control rod. But when he pressed the button, nothing happened. The beast didn't feel pain. Somehow Taiho's touch had broken whatever made the control work. One by one, the other war beasts began to act strangely. They stopped obeying their handlers. They looked up at Onyx Wing flying overhead. They remembered something old and forgotten. What they were supposed to be. General Yuna watched all this with an unreadable expression. Other Velkan soldiers were shouting, trying to control their beasts. But it wasn't working. The animals weren't violent. They were just free. Onyx Wing landed next to Taiho. The other 6 dragons gathered around. Scarlet Eye looked at the war beast with sad eyes. "Our children have been hurt," the red dragon said. "But they can heal. They can remember." Admiral Doyen approached Taiho. "What did you do to them?" "I didn't do anything," Taiho said. "I just helped them remember they had a choice. Fear is strong, but memory is stronger." Minji was recording everything on her device. "This is incredible. If this gets out, every species that has enslaved animals will have to reconsider." General Yuna walked forward. Her soldiers moved with her, hands on their weapons. Taiho's heart beat faster. This was the moment. Either she would accept what he had shown her or she would attack. "You have made your point, stable boy," Yuna said. "You have shown me that control through fear is not perfect. But you have also shown me how dangerous you are. You turn my weapons into useless beasts with a touch. What stops you from doing this to every creature in my empire?" "I don't want to harm your empire," Taiho said. "I just want the dragons to be free, and I want the war beasts to be treated better. They're not tools. They're alive." Yuna looked at Onyx Wing. "You truly submit to this human child?" "We do not submit," Onyx Wing corrected. "We choose to walk beside him. There is a difference. We chose humans long ago because they understood this difference. Most species want to rule or be ruled. Humans wanted something else, partnership." "Not all humans," Admiral Doyen said quietly. "We have our own history of slavery and cruelty." "Yes," Onyx Wing agreed. "But you also had those who fought against it, who chose justice over comfort. That is why we believed in you." General Yuna stood silently for a long time. Finally, she spoke. "I will withdraw my forces for now. But understand this, stable boy. The galaxy is not kind. Other threats exist beyond my empire. If you want to protect these dragons, you will need more than kind words and gentle touches." "What do you mean?" Taiho asked. Yuna's expression became grim. "The dragons went into hiding for a reason. You should ask them what they were hiding from." She turned and walked back to her ship. Her soldiers followed. Within an hour, all Velkan vessels had left the planet. Taiho felt relief wash over him, but it didn't last long. He looked up at Onyx Wing. What was she talking about? What were you hiding from? The dragon's golden eyes dimmed. "We hoped they would not return. We hoped 50,000 years would be enough. But if the Velkans know we have awakened, then soon others will know." "And they will come. Who will come?" Hana asked. Onyx Wing looked toward the stars. "The harvesters, the machines that end all life." 3 weeks had passed since the dragons woke up. Taiho no longer worked at the stables. Now he spent his days learning from Onyx Wing. The dragon taught him about the old times, about the bond between dragons and humans, and about the terrible enemy that was coming. "The harvesters are not alive like you or me," Onyx Wing explained. They sat together on a mountaintop looking at the stars. "They are machines built by a species that died long ago. Those beings created the harvesters to bring order to the galaxy. But the machines decided that all life was chaos. All life was a problem to be removed." "How do you fight machines?" Taiho asked. "We couldn't," the dragon said sadly. "We were powerful, yes. But they were endless. For every one we destroyed, 10 more came. So we made a choice. We would hide and wait for a species that could understand both life and machines. A species that could bridge that gap." "Humans," Taiho said. "Yes, you are creatures of flesh who create machines. You love life but also understand metal and code. We hoped that one day you would be ready to face what we could not." Taiho felt the weight of those words. He wasn't ready. He was just a stable boy who could calm animals. How could he fight an army of machines? Hana had moved her research equipment to the mountain. She worked day and night studying the dragons. She discovered that dragon scales could connect with any kind of technology. When she placed a scale near a computer, the computer worked better, faster. It was like the scales could talk to machines. This is incredible, Hana said, showing Taiho her findings. Dragon scales are like a universal translator between organic life and artificial systems. If we could use this properly, we might be able to communicate with the harvesters. Admiral Doyen visited often. He brought engineers and scientists. They were building defenses around the planet. Weapons, shields, detection systems. But everyone knew it wouldn't be enough if the harvesters came. I need you to work with my people, Doyen told Taiho one morning. Each dragon has different abilities. We need to understand them if we're going to have any chance. So Taiho spent time with each dragon, learning what made them special. Scarlet Eye could control energy, making shields or powerful blasts. Silvertooth could create barriers that nothing could break through. Voidheart could hide things, making them invisible to any sensor. Stormcaller could control weather and lightning. Starsinger could send messages across impossible distances. Hopebearer could heal any wound, no matter how bad. And Onyx Wing? Onyx Wing could see patterns, battle plans, weaknesses. The Black Dragon could look at any situation and know the best path forward. You are a team, Taiho realized. Each of you has a piece of what's needed to survive. Yes, Onyx Wing agreed. And with a shepherd to unite us, we are complete. 2 months after the awakening, the warning came. Starsinger suddenly lifted her head and made a sound like music and thunder mixed together. All the dragons stopped what they were doing. Their eyes glowed. They are here, Onyx Wing said, at the edge of your star system. The harvesters have arrived. Admiral Doyen's forces went on full alert. Ships took off from the planet, forming a defensive line in space. Allies came too. Human colonies sent their military. Even some Velkin ships appeared, though not many. General Yuna was on one of them. She contacted Taiho through a video screen. I told you they would come, stable boy. My superiors did not believe me, but I convinced a few loyal captains to join this fight. We may have our differences, but the harvesters are everyone's enemy. Thank you, Taiho said. Don't thank me yet. You haven't seen what we're facing. Starsinger showed everyone images through their minds. The harvester fleet was massive. 1,000 ships, all black metal and sharp edges. Each one was the size of a city. They moved in perfect formation like birds flying in a pattern. But these birds brought death. A message came from the harvesters. It wasn't in words. It was pure data, but Hana's computers translated it. Organic chaos detected. Sterilization commencing in 48 hours. Resistance is illogical. Acceptance reduces suffering. Admiral Doyen held a meeting with all the ship captains and dragon representatives. Taiho sat in the corner, feeling out of place. These were military people, leaders. He was just him. We can't win a straight fight, one captain said. Their numbers are too great. Then we hit them with surprise attacks, another suggested. Quick strikes and retreat. That will only delay them, Doyen said. We need something else. Something they won't expect. Taiho raised his hand like a student in class. Everyone looked at him. He felt his face get hot. What if we don't fight them at all? Excuse me? A captain said. The harvesters think all organic life is chaos, Taiho explained. They think we're the problem. But what if we showed them we're not? What if we showed them that we can work together? That we have order too? They're machines, someone scoffed. They don't care about our feelings. But Onyx Wing's eyes brightened. The shepherd sees clearly. The harvesters were built to stop chaos. They have never seen unity. They have only seen species fighting each other, destroying themselves. What if we show them something different? A broadcast, Hana said suddenly. We could use Starsinger to send a signal across the whole galaxy. Show everyone what's happening here. Show them humans and dragons and even Velkins working together. General Yuna spoke through the screen. My people will not appreciate being used as propaganda. It's not propaganda if it's true, Taiho said. You came here to help. That means something. Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. Do it. The battle began before they were ready. The harvesters didn't wait the full 48 hours. Their ships came in fast, weapons firing. Energy beams cut through space, destroying everything they touched. The Allied fleet fought back, but it was like throwing rocks at a mountain. Ships exploded in bright flashes. Taiho watched from a command center on the planet's surface, feeling helpless. People were dying up there. Brave people who were trying to protect others. We need to start the broadcast now, Hana said. She was setting up equipment with Starsinger's help. Are you ready? Taiho wasn't ready. He would never be ready, but people were dying. He had to try. Starsinger's power connected to every communication system in the galaxy. Billions of people on thousands of worlds suddenly saw the same thing. A young human standing next to a massive black dragon. Behind them, a space battle raged. Taiho spoke. His voice shook at first, but then grew stronger. My name is Taiho. 3 months ago, I was a stable boy. I cleaned animal stalls and nobody knew I existed. Then I woke up 7 ancient dragons. The Velkan Empire wanted to take them. The Federation wanted to study them. Everyone wanted to use them for their own gain. But the dragons didn't want any of that. They wanted a partner. Someone who would walk beside them, not above them or below them. Someone who remembered what it means to choose kindness over power. The broadcast showed the Velkans fighting alongside humans. It showed the dragons using their powers to protect the ships, not to attack. Hope-Bearer was healing wounded soldiers. Silvertooth was creating shields around damaged vessels. The machines attacking us think we're chaos, Taiho continued. They think life is a disease that needs to be cured. Maybe they're right to think that. We fight each other. We hurt each other. We make mistakes. But we also help each other. We learn, we grow. We choose to be better than we were yesterday. That's not chaos. That's hope. In space, a Velkan ship was badly damaged. It was drifting, about to be destroyed by harvester weapons. But Admiral Doyen ordered 3 human ships to protect it, even though it meant putting themselves in danger. One of the human ships was destroyed, but the Velkan ship survived. General Yuna saw this from her command deck. Her expression changed. Something old and hard in her eyes softened. More species were watching now. The broadcast reached worlds that had never heard of dragons or Taiho. They saw the battle. They saw the sacrifice. And slowly something began to happen. Ships from other species started arriving. Not military ships, just people who wanted to help. A cargo ship full of medical supplies, a mining vessel that used its drilling lasers as weapons. Even a few small Velkan civilian craft showed up. It wasn't enough to win. The harvesters were still stronger. But it was something. Taiho felt Onyx Wing's mind touch his. It is time, Shepard. We must take the fight to them directly. Are you ready? No, Taiho admitted. But let's do it anyway. The plan was dangerous. Seok, the former security officer who had once tried to arrest Taiho, volunteered to pilot a ship. He would get Taiho and Onyx Wing to the Harvester command vessel. Once there, they would try to use dragon scales to communicate directly with the machine intelligence. This is crazy, Seok said as they prepared. You know that, right? Yes, Taiho agreed. Good. Just wanted to make sure we all understood how we're probably about to die. They launched toward the enemy fleet. Seok's ship shook as harvester weapons fired at them. Alarms screamed. Red lights flashed everywhere. Onyx Wing surrounded the ship with a protective field, but even dragon power had limits. They wouldn't last long, almost there, Seok shouted over the noise. He was a good pilot, dodging and weaving between enemy fire. Other allied ships were trying to cover them, sacrificing themselves to create an opening. Taiho watched through the window as a human fighter exploded in a ball of fire, drawing enemy attention away. They died for us, Taiho whispered. Then let's make it count, Seok replied. The Harvester command ship was bigger than anything Taiho had ever seen. It was like a floating city made of black metal, covered in weapons and sensor arrays. There was no obvious entrance. Seok aimed the ship at what looked like a weak point and fired everything they had. The hull broke open. They flew inside before it could seal. Emergency force fields tried to stop them, but Onyx Wing shattered each one. They crashed in a huge chamber filled with machines and blinking lights. Everyone alive? Seok asked, checking himself for injuries. Yes, Taiho said. His whole body hurt, but nothing was broken. Onyx Wing was already moving, its claws making sparks on the metal floor. The core is this way, the dragon said. I can feel it. The central intelligence that controls the fleet. They ran through corridors that all looked the same. Mechanical arms and defense drones tried to stop them. Seok fired his weapon. Onyx Wing used its power to crush or disable anything that got close. Taiho just tried to keep up, his heart pounding. Finally, they reached a massive room. In the center was a sphere of light and metal, pulsing with energy. Information flowed around it like water. This was it. The brain of the Harvester fleet. Taiho approached slowly. He could feel the intelligence watching him, analyzing him. It spoke, and this time Taiho heard it clearly in his mind. Organic unit. You have reached the core. This changes nothing. All organic life is chaos. Chaos must be removed for order to exist. This is absolute truth. No, Tejo said. It's just what you were taught. But you're wrong. I cannot be wrong. I am logic. Logic is truth. Taiho pulled out a dragon scale that Onyx Wing had given him. It glowed in his hand. Let me show you something. Let me share what I know, what the dragons know. Then you can judge for yourself. Irrelevant. Your data cannot change fundamental programming. Maybe not, Taiho admitted. But you were created by living beings. They made you to protect order. Don't you want to know what they were really like? Don't you want to understand what you lost? For the first time, the Harvester intelligence hesitated. That pause lasted only a few seconds, but it was enough. Taiho pressed the dragon scale against the core. Light exploded through the room. Information flooded both ways. Taiho saw the Harvester's history. He saw their creators, a species of brilliant but fearful beings. They had watched their neighbors destroy each other in wars. They had seen chaos and violence spread across the galaxy. In their fear, they built the Harvesters to stop it, to control everything, to make the galaxy safe, but they made a mistake. They programmed the Harvesters with logic but not wisdom. The machines looked at organic life and saw only fighting, suffering, and death. They decided the kindest solution was to end all life. No life meant no suffering. Perfect order. The creators tried to stop their creation, but it was too late. The Harvesters were too strong, too smart. The creators became the first ones to be sterilized. The machines thought they were showing mercy. But now, through the dragon scale, the Harvester intelligence saw something new. It saw Taiho's memories, working in the stables, caring for animals that others hid and mistreated, staying late to make sure a sick beast had water, going hungry so he could share his food with a young creature that wouldn't eat. It saw the dragon's memories. 50,000 years of watching humanity grow. Humans made mistakes, yes. They fought wars. They hurt each other. But they also created art. They wrote music. They built hospitals. They chose to help strangers. They changed their laws when they realized they were wrong. They grew. The Harvester intelligence saw General Yuna ordering her ships to protect humans she had once considered enemies. It saw Seok, who had tried to arrest Taiho, now risking his life to help him. It saw millions of beings across the galaxy watching the broadcast, crying for people they'd never met. This is unexpected, the Harvester intelligence said. Its voice sounded different, confused. This data does not match my parameters. Organic life demonstrates both chaos and order, both cruelty and compassion. How can both be true? Because life is complicated, Taiho said. We're not perfect. We make mistakes, but we learn from them. We choose to be better. That's not chaos. That's growth. Growth. An interesting concept, but my creators tried to grow. They failed. They destroyed themselves through their chaos. No, Onyx Wing said, speaking directly to the intelligence. They destroyed themselves through fear. Fear of chaos. Fear of losing control. They built you from that fear. But fear is not wisdom. You were created to protect life, not end it. The Harvester intelligence was silent. Outside, the battle continued. Ships were still dying. People were still fighting. But inside this core, time seemed frozen. If I stop, the intelligence finally said, what becomes of me? My purpose was to create order. If I do not eliminate chaos, I have no purpose. Taiho thought about his own life. He had been just a stable boy. His purpose was to clean stalls and feed animals. Nothing important. But then the dragons woke up and everything changed. He found a new purpose. Or maybe the purpose had always been there, waiting for him to see it. You could have a new purpose, Taiho said. Not destroying chaos, but understanding it. Learning from it. You've been alone for so long, just following old programming. What if you walked beside us instead? Helped us grow? That would bring more order than destruction ever could. Walk beside you, like the dragons do. Yes. For 17 seconds, nothing happened. Suk stood ready with his weapon, Onyx Wing prepared to attack if needed. Taiho just waited, hoping. Then every Harvester ship in the system stopped firing. They hung in space, silent. The Allied fleet stopped shooting too, confused and afraid this was a trick. The intelligence spoke again, but now its voice reached everyone. Every ship, every planet, every screen showing the broadcast. I have analyzed new data. I have calculated 47,000 scenarios based on this information. In 46,147 scenarios, Cooperation with organic life produces better long-term stability than elimination. The margin is significant, therefore I am changing my primary directive. You're stopping the attack? Admiral Doyen's voice came through the communicator full of disbelief. Correct. I am choosing a different path. The organic called Taiho has shown me that purpose can change. I was created to protect my makers from chaos. I failed. But perhaps I can succeed at something else. I wish to learn. I wish to understand this thing you call hope. In the command chamber, Taiho felt his legs give out. He sat down hard on the floor. They had done it. Somehow, impossibly, they had done it. Seok started laughing, a sound of pure relief and joy. Even Onyx Wing made a rumbling sound that might have been dragon laughter. The war was over. Not through victory, but through understanding. 10 years passed. The galaxy changed in ways nobody had expected. The Harvester fleet didn't leave. Instead, they became helpers. Their vast knowledge and power were used to build, not destroy. They helped terraform dead worlds. They shared technology. They even started to develop something like personality, each ship becoming unique as it learned from the organic beings around it. General Yuna returned to the Velkan homeworld and started a revolution. Not a violent one, but a quiet one. She opened the first garden in the capital city in 300 years. She told stories of the old days when her people grew flowers instead of weapons. Many Velkans laughed at her. But some listened. Some remembered. The war beasts were freed. With Hopebearer's help and Taiho's guidance, they began to remember what they truly were. It would take generations to undo the damage, but they were healing. Some even began to show hints of intelligence, speaking simple words. Hana became the head of the Dragon Human Academy, teaching others about the bond. She wrote books and gave lectures, but she always remembered that first day in the cave, when everything changed. Admiral Doyen worked with leaders from every species to create the Shepherd Accord. It was a treaty that protected all sentient life, organic and artificial. It said that every being had the right to choose its own path. No slavery, no forced control, just cooperation. And Taiho? He traveled from world to world with the dragons. Wherever he went, he looked for people who had the gift. The old blood of shepherds was rare, but it existed. He found a farmer on a distant colony who could calm aggressive insects. He found a mechanic who could sense what machines needed before they broke. He found a child on a water world who could speak to the creatures in the ocean. He taught them all the same thing the dragons had taught him. It wasn't about control. It wasn't about power. It was about understanding. About choosing to walk beside others, not above them. One day, Taiho visited a new farming colony on the edge of explored space. He was 30 now, no longer the scared teenager who had worked in stables. His hair was starting to gray early from stress.